My name is Olivia Walsh. I'm 33, and the day my mother told me not everyone is born to shine, she carved a ceiling I'd spend a decade trying to blow up. The phone vibrated while I was inspecting a crate of suppressed M4s for an asymmetric warfare course in Tampa. Mom glowed on the screen 2 syllables that landed like a sniper shot to the spine. 11 years of radio silence. And she still had perfect aim. "Your sister's promotion is next week," she said. Voice as soft as morphine. "Drive home, but please. Olivia. Don't wear anything distracting. If you've ever been told to stay small so someone else can look bigger, stay with me because the next 30 minutes will show you how a ghost can set an entire room on fire. Before we march, smash, subscribe, and ring that bell. Drop a comment if a relative ever dimmed your light. You'll want front row seats when the tables turn." I threw the phone onto the passenger seat of my beat-up Humvee green Wrangler, same Jeep that carried me across Anbar, across Libya, across nights when GPS felt more reliable than family. I hadn't stepped inside the house on Fort Campbell since Candlestrike, 4 days barricaded in a Syrian drainage tunnel, praying the children hiding behind me wouldn't breathe too loud. Mom never asked about that mission. She did, however, post Erica's ROTC graduation photos on Facebook, cropping me out so the composition looked balanced. The interstate unspooled like a gray artery toward Kentucky. Diesel fumes, black coffee, the thrum of good years on asphalt. Each mile peeled another scab. I caught myself rehearsing lines I'd never say. "Hi, Dad. I still speak Arabic in my sleep." "Hi, Mom. Damascus dust doesn't wash off." None of those lines fit their script. In our family, visibility was earned by spotless medals and headline-friendly valor, not by operations that never officially happened. Physicalization of fear 3 hours in. A state trooper tailgated me, blue flash, adrenaline dump, my pulse jackhammered, forearms tingling the way they did in Mosul right before the first mortar landed. Fight or flight is a muscle. Mine never atrophied. Flashback. Foreshadow windshield glare, morphed into the blinding Iraqi noon of 2017. Major Derek Glade barking for a fast sweep through a civilian quarter. Me, radioing a standby that saved 7 kids, cost 12 Rangers, and forged a grudge sharp enough to slice the future. Glade's eyes that day glass marbles hunting someone to blame, return whenever the highway white lines strobe too fast. Arrival at the house, midnight. Porch light burned the exact same wattage as the night I left. I pressed 2 fingers to the scar under my collarbone, souvenir from a Libyan door breach, and let the engine idle till it stuttered dry. The front door wasn't locked. It never is when they expect the right daughter. Sensory bombardment. Lemon disinfectant, Mom's chosen camouflage for sentiment. Ticking wall clock every second pronounced, like artillery spotting rounds. A framed photo gallery running the hallway, Erica in dress blues. Dad saluting. A vacant square where West Point class of 12 used to hang. Mom stood at the dining table lining up printed place cards with surgical precision. Without looking up, she issued the first order. "Go change your shirt. You'll sit next to Erica tomorrow. Just don't interrupt her speech. No hug. No, you made it home alive. Only project management." Dad intercepted me with a shoulder pad inspection. Not affection, and moved on to greet Colonel Snyder's wife. My name tasted foreign in his mouth, so he didn't risk saying it. Then came Erica ribbons, sparkling under foyer light. Charisma dialed to 10. She kissed the air beside my cheek. "This is my sister, Liv. She did a stint in admin, I think." Polite chuckles sliced me thinner than any shell fragment I'd ever pulled from my thigh. Tomorrow, a 4-star general walks in and erases every lie in this house. Couldn't sleep. Prowled the garage where my storage boxes gathered spiderweb rank. Found my unopened dress uniform, Special Operations Command patch, still smelling of cobble sand. Fingers trembled as I traced the Velcro where 3 covert ribbons should hang, but never will. Overhead, pipes clanged like distant rotor blades. My breath frosted in the Kentucky autumn. Resolve crystallized tomorrow I wouldn't ask to be seen. I'd stand so tall, ignorance would bruise its own neck looking up. The dawn before a promotion ceremony never feels like morning. It feels like pre-combat gray, a color you taste more than see. And as I buttoned the plain slate blouse Mom insisted on, my palms sweated memories of field dressings and satellite uplinks. Erica had commandeered the upstairs bathroom to steam her dress blues. I could hear the hiss, the occasional triumphant laugh at a meme in the family group I'd never been invited to. Proof that even on big days she could still multitask praise. Downstairs, Dad inspected the seating chart the way he once inspected convoy routes, elbow straight. Finger-tapping positions, yet the card that said family unassigned stayed taped to a fold-up chair. Row 3 from the back, as immovable as doctrine. Mom floated in with silver coffee urns, sniffed the air for intangible imperfections, then reminded me, without blinking, not to speak unless spoken to during Erica's keynote. Her voice was velvet stretched over cold steel. And for a fleeting second, I wondered whether battlefield silence, or domestic silence, cut deeper. But the clock struck 0800, and the convoy of luxury sedans began gliding onto Pierce Avenue. So sentiment had to stand at ease until further notice, because ceremony, like war, waits for no one, and tables were set for the victorious. I had a different kind of victory in mind. The division briefing hall was a chandeliered amphitheater stuffed with brass and ambition. Polished shoes clicked in rhythms only careerists hear. And every row closer to the podium felt 10 degrees warmer from shared ego. An usher in white gloves guided me past colonels' wives and state senators. To my folding chair, its metal chill, a final reminder that I was a +1 to my own bloodline. From this vantage, I could see the banner, Excellence in Service Lieutenant Colonel Erica Walsh. The phrase tasted like formaldehyde. At 0900, exactly the band struck The Army Goes Rolling Along. The house lights dimmed, and Erica strode on stage with the composure of a woman who'd never been told to dim her shine. Cameras flashed. She soaked them up the way deserts drink rain. Her speech opened with a joke about childhood hide-and-seek that had the crowd purring. Then she pivoted, voice syrupy, into a lesson on leadership. True leaders, she declared, surround themselves with those who elevate the mission, not those who abandon it. The phrase hung like razored tinsel. A ripple of glances ricocheted toward my row, a silent vote on who the deserter might be. And though my pulse spiked, I kept a sniper-calm face because I knew the target she'd just painted would be eclipsed in minutes by something far louder. The room was about to learn what loud really meant. When the doors at the rear burst open, the band froze mid-bar, and an acoustic vacuum swallowed the hall. General Marcus Hammond, 4 stars that could blind satellites, stepped inside. Flanked by 2 aides, who looked surprised he'd veered off schedule. He scanned the audience once, twice, then locked eyes with me. Conversation died, a clean, surgical death as he walked the center aisle, boot heels clacking like a metronome counting down to revelation. 30 feet, 20, 10. He stopped at my row, executed a crisp right face, and raised a salute so sharp the air hissed. Ma'am. General Walsh. He projected. An honor to see you again. Instinct overrode disbelief. I rose, returned the salute. The SOCOM patch on my blazer suddenly a confession in cloth. Somewhere near the dais, Erica's note cards fluttered to the floor. A cousin gasped. Mom's coffee cup shattered. The chain of command had just redrawn itself. Live. Hammond lowered his hand, nodded once, and left as abruptly as he'd arrived. Yet the silence he detonated stayed radioactive, every eye now recalibrating the family story they'd been spoon-fed. Truth is heavy, it crushes who can't carry it. The ceremony limped to its conclusion on artificial applause. Photos were taken, but the flashbulbs had lost appetite. In the reception foyer, beneath a mural of Screaming Eagle history, Erica cornered me near the punch bowl that no one stirred. Her lipstick-perfect smile didn't reach her pupils. "Why didn't you warn me?" she hissed. Fists tiny and white. I told her forewarning isn't protocol in asymmetrical warfare. She muttered something about sabotage, about how I'd once again found the spotlight she earned. I replied that real light finds its own sources. Dad swooped in then, cheeks crimson, offering a handshake to the mayor to camouflage the family implosion. Mom avoided my gaze, studying a crack in the flagstone that wasn't there yesterday. By 1400 guests dispersed, leaving only crumbs of sheet cake and the stench of reputations singed. I retreated to the driveway where my Wrangler waited like an extraction bird, heart clanging out of sync, wondering if this would be the night I finally burned every bridge back, or the night the bridges came hunting me instead. Midnight had plans, and none involved sleep. At 02:57, the base siren wailed a mechanical banshee that injects adrenaline before your eyelids can choose open or shut. My phone exploded with red banners. Security breach level 9, Operation Dagger intel compromised. Dress code battle ready. My body obeyed decades-old choreography boots, holster, badge clipped, data key swallowed by inner pocket. The blackout corridors of G6 hummed with officers half-dressed and fully panicked. Sergeant Martinez thrust a sealed dossier into my hands. Thin paper. Thick implications. Someone had dumped classified files onto the dark web 3 hours prior. Trace signature pointing to an internal IP, specifically a device assigned to Lieutenant Colonel Erica Walsh. The air inside my lungs crystallized. Betrayal. Like shrapnel. Is hottest when fresh. General Hammond appeared, face granite, and ordered an emergency task force. He pinned command on me because ghosts, it seems, make excellent hunters of other ghosts. Behind us, Erica was being escorted towards cyber forensics, bronze shoes echoing regret she hadn't yet admitted. I squared my shoulders, opened the dossier, and saw the first breadcrumb, a dormant Trojan last touched in Mosul 2017, authored by a single name, Derek Glade. My vision tunneled. Highways, drainage tunnels, and family dining rooms collapsed into one brutal thesis. The war I thought I'd left overseas had followed me home, wrapped in sibling rivalry. Cliffhanger, at 0300 hours, the hunt began. And by dawn, blood alone would no longer define who counted as family. The secure operations bunker beneath G6 smelled of burnt coffee, ozone from overheating servers, and nerves polished to a mirror edge. Floodlights bleached every corner. Yet my mother, my father, and my sister still managed to cast shadows on one another as General Hammond snapped the task force orders onto the steel table. Dad would mine archive servers. Mom would vet bioforensics from Erica's confiscated laptop. Erica herself would trace every keystroke that made her a walking breach. And I, the ghost newly materialized, would stitch those fragments into a single timeline. Nobody argued, because in rooms like this, delusion dies fast. But silence wore the weight of years we'd never debriefed. And when Hammond left the hatch, clanged like a judge's gavel announcing family court in session, a trial with no recess hook, our first exhibit was waiting on a screen still dripping red metadata. Forensics projected the Trojan skeleton, a 2017 Mosul logistics file, masquerading as an innocuous XLSM. Open it on any privileged device, and a hidden macro reached back to a dead relay, siphoning classified fragments so slowly no watchdog would bark. a digital leech bred for patience. The login that woke it 9 hours earlier came from Erica's ID badge when she copied her slide deck. An accident lethal in its simplicity, but the macro's author Tag D Glade glowed like a radioactive signature. Dad muttered a curse he hadn't used since Fallujah. Mom inhaled as if tasting blood in saline. Erica's knuckles blanched against the keyboard. I overlaid packet trajectories onto a base map and watched them converge on an off-grid IP outside Fort Campbell. A cheap motel 2 exits south on I-24. No firewalls, no VPN. Just arrogance wrapped in confidence that we'd be too busy eating our own to notice hooks some hunters forget ghosts carry night vision. During the van ride to the motel, I let the hum of bulletproof tires pull me into the past Mosul's baking wind. Glade's baritone demanding a full sweep through civilian blocks. My refusal over comms. The mortar that answered 5 minutes later. The evacuation that saved children but cost 12 operators. The body bags under sodium lights. Glade staring at me like I'd carved the letters KIA into each one. Grief makes some men pray, makes others plot. And the report he filed afterward tagged me as emotionally compromised. A footnote that closed promotion doors for years. I'd shrugged it off then, faith in long games. But on that highway, I felt the old shrapnel itch. And every mile shrank the distance between unfinished business and live ammunition hook. The motel sign flickered open like an invitation written in lighter fluid. We breached at 0342, no flashbangs. Digital thieves require intact hard drives. Room 112 reeked of stale cigarettes and new treason. Glade sat at a laminate desk. Laptop mid-upload. Cheap bourbon for courage. Glock within reach he didn't bother grabbing. He smiled, slow and bruised. "Took you long enough." "Walsh," he said, as Martinez cuffed him. His screen showed darknet progress at 97%, 3 clicks from catastrophic, so Brooks yanked the Ethernet. Severing the arterial spray of secrets, Glade didn't flinch. He'd already shifted to the courtroom in his head. Building a defense only sociopaths consider airtight hook arrogance is flammable in the interrogation light. CID's black glass room amplified every heartbeat. Glade spoke without lawyer or sweat, recounting how he'd seeded the Trojan during his last week in theater, how he monitored base networks for the day. Some Walsh with clearance but not brains would trip it. How Erica's promotional frenzy gave him the window. "I didn't frame her," he said. Voice academic. "I just let gravity do its work." He called me a myth. Domestic audiences loved silent savior. Classified martyr and claimed myths distort defense spending. His objective was balance. His metric was ruin. The words slid off his tongue like he'd rehearsed them to a metronome. I watched Erica behind the one-way glass. Tears unshed. Horror measured in micro-tremors at her jawline. Mom gripped a legal pad hard enough to bend steel. Dad stared as though the man inside realized metals can't armor children. Hook confession is cheap. Accountability bills arrive later. Back in the bunker, Erica requested the floor a request, not a plea. She admitted the careless login, the jealousy that fueled her speech, the years she'd polished greatness on borrowed pride. Her voice cracked only when she said my name. Like speaking it broke a taboo. She signed a voluntary statement placing her promotion on hold for 5 years and ceded her personal data for full audit. The room exhaled a collective shudder. Not relief. Something rougher respect being rebuilt from rubble. I initialed her document as commanding analyst, ink drying over a decade of silent combat. And for the first time, our eyes met without crosshairs. Hook family isn't healed by paperwork. But treaty lines must be inked before dawn. At 0500, General Hammond reconvened us. Face lit by a single monitor, streaming Senate headlines, gearing up for an emergency hearing on cyber leaks jeopardizing troop lives. He ordered a briefing package ready by 1800, named me primary witness. Erica supporting. Mom and Dad, expert corroboration. Failure meant national scandal. Success meant exhuming ghosts on live C-SPAN. I closed my laptop. Pulse steady. Mission parameters clear. We had 13 hours to weaponize truth sharper than any lie Glade ever launched. Outside. Sunrise tinted the horizon, artillery red, and I felt the familiar calm of H-hour settling into my bones. Cliffhanger revenge was no longer personal. It had become policy. The Senate Armed Services hearing room looks civilized on CS-PAN, but it's 0700, empty of cameras. It feels like a kill house made of walnut and velvet. Every desk a potential firing position. Every microphone a wiretap to the nation's pulse. And while staffers shuffle briefing binders, the four of us dad in pressed civilian blazer, hiding tremor-calloused hands. Mom clutching her forensics charts like field dressings. Erica pale, yet upright. And me, in an unadorned charcoal suit, occupy a secluded alcove, rehearsing truth as if it were a raid plan. Because in 3 hours 38, senators will decide whether we're guardians or accomplices, and the margin for rhetorical error will be measured in headline blood. Not statistics. Hammond joins, lays out final intel showing Glade's 39 attempted exports and a Saudi intermediary already under indictment. Then locks eyes with me and issues the directive, no algorithm can make them feel the cost of silent wars. I nod once, pulse settling into that pre-breach metronome that means fear has filed for courage, rarely stays approved for long. Time compression is a weapon. So we spend the ride to Capitol Hill, cramming vulnerabilities into sound bites. Mom reminds me senators glaze over at acronyms. Dad argues we must still cite ROE paragraph numbers for the record. Erica fingers the edge of her suspension letter as if serrated paper can keep her honest. I break the tie by scripting a 2-minute narrative artery candle strike photo of the sewer pipe. Mosul casualty graph. Forensic packet trail. Then Glade's Motel IP, each slide a heartbeat. Each heartbeat a soldier. When the Suburban stops at Constitution Avenue, a protest line has already formed placards reading, "Transparency Now," beside others accusing whistleblowers of treason, and the polarity of those cardboard slogans reminds me justice isn't a scale. It's a knife. And which edge draws blood depends on who steadies the handle. As security ushers us through metal detectors, I catch Erica mouthing the Ranger creed she once failed to earn. Syllables cracking yet persistent, sometimes penance recites you. The gavel drops at 0900, and Chairman Reyes opens with the phrase, "Every commander dreads." We are here because oversight malfunctioned. Cameras pivot, oxygen thins, and my name is called first. Walking to the witness table, I feel the weight of 38 million live viewers. Yet the heavier weight is 7 children I once shielded in Syria. Memory is granular body armor. I swear the oath and lead with absence, describing how heroism that cannot be tweeted becomes vacuum into which resentment breeds. Slide 1. Glows thermal image of that drainage tunnel. Senators lean forward. Slide 2 Mosul macro code annotated in red. Eyebrows rise. Slide 3 network crawl pointing to Glade. Collective murmur. I finish with a single sentence, drilled for maximum recoil. When oversight dismisses classified sacrifice, someone eventually monetizes the silence. The room holds its breath, and in that vacuum, even the marble columns seem to listen. Columns are sturdy until narratives crack their foundation. Glade enters under subpoena. Cuffs removed, but future chained. He opts to testify without counsel. Arrogance masquerading as valor. And delivers a monologue about strategic equilibrium. Claiming leaks are therapeutic shocks against military opacity. He names me Sainted Shadow, accuses the task force of nepotism, claims Erica's incompetence proves dynastic rot. For 10 minutes he weaponizes vocabulary while avoiding the word children. Then Senator Baines interrupts. Projects decrypted emails where Glade bargains troop movements for crypto, and asks him whether equilibrium includes auctioning lives. The jaw clench that follows is worth more than any confession. Because television captures microseconds better than polygraphs. Mom is next, clinically dismantling his Trojan's biosignature timestamps, each datum a scalpel, leaving senators nodding as though triage smells familiar. Erica testifies last, voice trembling but clear, detailing her envy, her access error, her voluntary suspension, and concludes by saluting the chamber as witness to accountability. Tears refusing to fall because contrition deserves dry eyes. Honesty disorients predators accustomed to prey. Recess buzzes like a downed transformer. Corridors flood with reporters, but Hammond secures us inside a side library where daylight slashes through bulletproof glass. He informs us preliminary votes favor a full court-martial for Glade and that the Walsh name, once a whisper, now trends with hashtags about unsung valor. Dad removes his glasses, rubbing the bridge of a nose broken at Quezon, and whispers that pride feels heavier when it finally fits. Mom exhales a decade of withheld condolences, and Erica asks whether forgiveness requires permission or simply bandwidth. I say bandwidth, always bandwidth, because families are networks and packets drop when routers block ports. She nods, hand drifting to my shoulder but stopping short like a truce line painted fresh. Outside, thunder rolls a June storm marching up the Potomac. Foreshadowing headlines that will soak morning editions, lightning still has to strike before the air truly clears. The afternoon session is procedural, yet history often hides in procedure. Reyes enters a unanimous motion recommending Glade for trial and ordering a Defense Department task force on invisible service recognition, chaired by, unexpectedly, me. The vote passes. Gavels collide. CS-PAN graphic explodes. I turn to see Dad's lips part, then close. Words aborted by astonishment. And across the aisle, protesters have flipped their signs to protect our ghosts. Symbolic momentum is dizzying, but mission focus demands ballast. I request the committee append Erica as deputy for transparency operations, a gamble on redemption. Murmurs ripple, then acceptance, and the record notes 2 Walsh sisters now co-architect deterrence policy. The session adjourns under storm-thick sky. Cameras swarm, but security hustles us to a freight elevator, where silence finally feels earned rather than enforced. As the doors close, I spot Glade led away in restraints. Face pale as unplugged electronics, some circuits never reboot. Night falls over Fort Campbell like blackout curtains finely drawn after a week-long stakeout. We sit around the kitchen table, once weaponized as a podium for comparison. Lasagna reheating in the oven while thunder rattles window panes. Dad breaks open a bourbon aged the year I was born. Pours 4 equal fingers. Equality being new terrain. We clink without toasts because language is fragile tonight. I slide an envelope toward Erica, her suspension notice stamped. Accepted. Alongside Hammond's personal letter, inviting her to Ranger School rehab course. She inhales, tears this time permitted, and asks why I advocated. I answer that empathy is strategic depth, and depth wins wars. Upstairs. Mom replaces the empty photo frame with one taken by a Senate photographer 6 hours earlier, the 4 of us standing under an eagle seal. No one cropped. She adjusts it millimeter perfect. Then leaves the hallway light on, as if illumination could guard against revisions. The oven dings. Aroma fills the room, but appetite waits because Dad raises his glass and whispers. To ghosts finding daylight. Thunder answers with distant artillery cadence. Cliffhanger dawn will test whether daylight keeps its promise. The first sunrise after Senate thunder smelled of mower-cut grass and jet fuel. And as I laced my boots outside Classroom Delta, a platoon of fresh-faced cadets filed past, whisper buzzing about the ghost colonel who unseated a 4-star narrative. Beside me, Erica adjusted her rehab course harness. Suspension letter already a cautionary tale in every leadership syllabus. Yet the way she straightened when recruits saluted proved scars can double as spine. and when she nodded for me to open our inaugural lecture, I felt the room inhale, ready to taste the difference between history told and history lived. Pivot telling is oxygen. Living is combustion. I began with a satellite image of Mosul, not the colorized PR map, but the raw grayscale grain where alleys blur into possibility. I asked who here knew the latency of morality in a kinetic grid, and silence answered louder than doctrine. So I let the next slide show the drainage tunnel from Candlestrike. 7 children huddled in IR bloom. And when the projector hummed, I recited coordinates, blast radius, and the cost of an 11-minute delay that once branded me compromised, ending with the line I'd reserved for classrooms, not committees. Sometimes tactical patience is the most violent act you can commit against chaos. Their faces stiffened not from horror, from recognition that bloodless equations hide arterial truths. Hook recognition is a gate. Walk through and nothing looks routine again. Erica took over with a flip chart of packet traces. Confessing the email click heard round the Pentagon, she dissected each misstep until the cadets flinched from second-hand humiliation, then closed by stamping her own suspension order onto the corkboard and declaring, "Failure is only fatal if you outsource the autopsy." The clap that followed wasn't applause. It was gloves snapping on in surgical readiness. Hook, once you gift people your autopsy, they start diagnosing their own. Weeks blurred into policy drafts and midnight coffee inside the new Invisible Service Task Force office, a converted storage bay where Dad cataloged off-the-books valor like a librarian of ghosts. Mom built mindfulness modules for operators who'd never admit nightmares, and Erica piloted transparency briefings for congressional aides who thought JSOC was a video game. Every night, I walked the aisle of rolling chairs and PowerPoints and felt the hum of a family resequencing its DNA, each slide a base pair, each debate a mitosis. Yet I also felt the ticking responsibility of leadership that finally had daylight funds. Because visibility means audit, and audit means margin for error, measured in tweet cycles. Hook daylight heals. But it also disinfects with fire. 3 months later, we unveiled the Spectre Ribbon, a monochrome bar awarded for classified humanitarian saves at a Pentagon auditorium, packed with brass that once ignored unprintable heroics. General Hammond handed the first ribbon to Sergeant Martinez for yanking Glade's upload at 97%. Cameras flashed, and when the lens swung to me, I stepped aside so it could frame the whole task force, refusing the single spotlight reflex that birthed our chaos. Backstage, a reporter asked if revenge felt complete. I answered that revenge was a staging area, not an objective, and she blinked as though the campaign had outgrown her headline hook. When narratives mature, they shed the skins clickbait loved. That night, Dad replaced the hallway bulb with a daylight LED, brighter than any we'd allowed. And as we gathered for a slow exhale dinner, I noticed the old West Point photo now hung beside the Senate portrait, without shrinking either. Mom shelled pecans into a bowl, saying nothing but leaving the shells for me to see proof she could make a mess and trust I wouldn't judge. A wordless treaty. Erica slid a new Ranger tab across the table, acceptance stamped for the next cycle, and asked if I'd sign her reference. I signed in the space where jealousy used to live. Thunder was absent, replaced by cicadas that hummed like servers at idle. Hook peace is just bandwidth without congestion. Before sleep, I drafted this epilogue for the cadets. If someone erases you, don't spend your life redrawing the outline. Become the watermark no one can crop. I hit send, watched the cursor blink, and realized the ache for recognition had mutated into an appetite for amplification of quieter warriors. Outside, porch lights spilled across the lawn where our dog tags once clinked on childhood swings. And I understood at last that belonging isn't a seat assigned. It's a gravity you generate until a room can't orbit without you. With that, I closed the laptop on every ceiling I'd ever carried. Tomorrow, a new class arrives. and ghosts, freshly visible, will be teaching the roll call. My name is Captain Aaron Carter, 33 years old, and today I watched my father pin a medal on a coffin that should have had my face carved into the lid. The camera hovers over rows of folded flags at Hampton Roads National Cemetery, while my voice keeps tightening. 6 years ago, I bled for a mission nobody will talk about. 6 minutes ago, he looked right through me like I was already in the ground. Thunder rumbles off the Chesapeake. The shot freezes on Admiral Richard Carter's stoic profile. Why would a Navy legend erase his own daughter's history if you believe truth should never stay buried? I say, turning straight to Lens. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a yeah in the comments. Because the next 30 minutes will prove how far a family will go to protect a legacy and how far I'll go to shatter it. Quick on-screen graphic, stay to the end. Secret audio, drops live. Music punch, fade. The November wind slices across Norfolk's parade lawn, pulling at my dress blues. Admiral Carter stands behind a mahogany podium, voice lacquered with patriotic polish. Orion never leaves anyone behind. His words ricochet off polished tombstones. Every syllable is a nail in my undocumented coffin. In the second row, my younger sister, Dr. Natalie Carter, dips her head, unaware she signed the psych eval that branded me unstable. Beside her sits Senator William Huxley, grin syrup sweet, ready to approve another multi-billion budget line for Atlas Corp's AI weapon Valkyrie. Chief Marcus Mako Diaz leans on a carbon fiber prosthetic, the same leg he lost on the mission that officially never happened. I feel the chorus of silence. They're all complicit, even if some don't know it yet. When the rifle salute cracks the sky, I flinch, not at the gunfire, but at the memory of a sand-blown blast in Raqqa that ripped open our team and my military record in the same breath. My father folds a flag, hands it to a widow whose husband's name replaced mine on the memorial wall. He never looks at me. The camera glides to Admiral Carter's lips, catching a whisper meant for no one history remembers winners. Night sinks over the pier. I rent the cheapest harbor motel, neon buzzing like a faulty heart monitor. A steel case sits on the bed, my last possession from the Orion Armory. Inside, a solid-state drive wrapped in copper mesh and a handwritten inventory tag signed by tech guru Elias Knox, now presumed dead. I boot a clean laptop, Valkyrie's black and emerald login shards across the screen. I key in 3 forgotten passphrases, a childhood call sign, a dead teammate's birthday, my mother's last words, access denied. Red-lettered verdict, level 0, erasure confirmed. My pulse drums in my ears. I drag the cursor to the audit log. Every mission I led is gone. Overwritten by a single ID HX01 bill, a senator's pet project, my father's bargaining chip. The motel light flickers out. In the brief darkness, I hear the hiss of tires on gravel. Someone stopped outside room 19. Breath held. I kill the laptop screen and peer through blinds-tinted SUV. Engine idling. No plates. The silhouette in the driver's seat lifts a phone to his ear. Mine buzzes simultaneously with an unknown number. You should have stayed dead. Captain? The SUV pulls away. Taillights bleeding into fog. I exhale, tasting adrenaline and betrayal. Morning bleeds a watery sun over the University of Maryland's Cybersecurity Annex as I stride through glass corridors that smell of ozone and stale coffee. Each footstep echoing the funeral volley, still ringing in my skull. At the far end waits Professor Helen Brooks' gray braid, sneakers with neon laces, who once lectured the Pentagon on why blockchains are memory palaces that refuse to burn. She greets me with a tight hug that says more than words, then seals the lab door. Lights dimming to crimson as she inserts my copper-wrapped SSD into an air-gapped rig. The Valkyrie interface blossoms again. Only this time, Helen unleashes a forensic script that scrapes beneath the wiped layers and drags out a hidden ledger of SHA-256 hashes, timestamps, mission tags, deletion commands, all quietly posted to a sidechain no human was meant to monitor. And at the end of every string glows the same poison signature, HX01 Bill. I stare. Heartbeat thumping Huxley isn't just pocketing defense money. He's the ghostwriter of my erasure. Helen exhales. Someone paid Valkyrie to forget you. But the machine kept the receipt. And in that moment, I realized digital amnesia can still talk if you know the right language, a truth sharper than any bullet. Begging to be fired. We clone the ledger to 3 nano drives, but before Helen can encrypt the 4th, the campus fire alarms howl. Red strobes slice the lab while loudspeakers bark, "Evacuate immediately. Chemical hazard." Through the window, I spot men in maintenance overalls guiding students out. Yet their earpieces gleam military black, too polished for janitors, and one of them makes direct eye contact with me before tapping his wrist mic. Helen whispers, "Front exit's gone. Service tunnel, now," and we dash into a concrete throat lit by flickering fluorescence, her sneakers squeaking in panic rhythm. Halfway down, boots thunder behind us. I shove Helen through a supply hatch and slam the bar just as a fist slams back, the metal denting inward. We sprint past boilers until daylight slashes ahead. Outside, a charcoal sedan idles by a loading dock. A man leans against the hood. Badge glinting Special Agent Noah Green, NCIS. He raises his palms, no gun, yet his eyes catalog the nanodrive bulging in my fist. "Captain Carter, I have orders to place you in protective custody," he says, voice low enough to wound. "I demand whose protection," he murmurs. "Maybe yours, maybe theirs, that depends on what's in your pocket." And for a breath, the campus seems to tilt, forcing me to decide whether to trust the stranger blocking my only exit. I gamble on movement feint left, pivot right. Green doesn't chase. Instead, he tosses a burner phone that clatters at my feet. When you realize who really signed the kill order. Call. Sirens swell behind us. I haul Helen into my truck and peel down Route 1, adrenaline spiking, as I spot the sedan slipping into traffic 3 cars back. Shadow tethered. Helen mutters coordinates to a dive bar in Norfolk where Marcus Diaz hides from VA paperwork. And while asphalt blurs beneath, the nanodrive pulses like a second heartbeat against my thigh, each blink reminding me the proof of conspiracy is now portable, yet infinitely fragile. The bar smells of fryer grease and regret perfect camouflage. Marcus, beard thicker than memory, slaps a battered coin on the table, the Okinawa Challenge coin I handed him after carrying his shattered leg 8 kilometers through mortar fire. He keeps it close to remember who dragged me out when command said leave me. He scans the ledger, jaw tightening as his own file appears beneath mine with the same HX01 bill tag. And suddenly the room feels too small for the rage expanding in his chest. We don't get time to digest. TV over the bar breaks into a special report. Senator Huxley applauds a fresh $4 billion Valkyrie upgrade, citing 0 unresolved incidents. My skin crawls. Then, Natalie's face flashes on screen beside him. She's touring a military wellness clinic under Huxley's sponsorship. Unaware, she's become his perfect PR alibi. Marcus swears and shoves the remote. Cracking plastic. I feel the coin between us quake with unspoken betrayal. And in the tremor, I sense my sister's signature on a psych file that damned me a truth I'm not yet ready to confront. Phone vibrates, encrypted ping from Helen. Valkyrie self-destruct command triggered. Ledger integrity at risk in 04000. Panic slams down. We need an uplink strong enough to blast the sidechain dump into public mirrors before the AI wipes its own trail. Marcus grins darkly, unstraps his carbon fiber prosthetic, revealing a military-grade comms booster soldered into the shank contraband he's been tinkering with since the VA cut his benefits. Leg still wants to serve. He jokes, metal clinking like gallows humor. Avery Lynn texts coordinates to an abandoned way station off Highway 58, line of sight to a decommissioned satellite dish. I floor the accelerator. Rain needles the windshield as the clock bleeds minutes, each wiper swipe erasing precious time. We reach the way station, rusted steel. Graffiti threats. Marcus plants the prosthetic upright. Antenna panel unfolding like a black tulip in storm wind. Helen remote guides us through a handshake with the dish. Avery's live stream counter climbing by thousands as code pukes across the screen. At 0002:17 remaining. A surge of static fries half the packets. Valkyrie's death throes jam the feed. I bite down panic. Reroute through Kenya. Then Iceland. Marcus slams the leg's battery against concrete. Sparks flaring. Power reborn. The ledger completes at 000004. A digital scream launched into the wild, where no kill switch can follow. Breathless. Rain-soaked. I watch the upload confirmation bloom green, while lightning backlights the horizon. And for one feral heartbeat, victory tastes electric until headlights spear the darkness, multiple vehicles fanning out. And at their center sits the same charcoal sedan. Driver door opening to reveal Agent Green. Arm raised, not with a weapon, but my burner phone. Its screen flashing an incoming call from unknown. Admiral R. Carter. He locks eyes with me across the asphalt and mouths. Green sets the burner on the hood of his sedan. Rain sizzling off hot metal. Admiral Carter's name strobing across the glass like a curse no one wants to say aloud. I half expect my father's baritone to bulldoze the night. But Green rejects the call with one swipe. Then taps a secure folder and thrusts the screen toward me. A grainy 8-second clip plays moonlit deck of a patrol boat. Two silhouettes. A muffled gunshot. A body pitched over rail. The shooter steps into camera flare. My father, while an unseen voice whispers, "Target Knox neutralized." "Admiral?" My stomach ices. Elias Knox wasn't collateral damage. He was an execution. Green's jaw flexes. "He raised me after my parents died in Kabul," he says. Voice flat enough to crack. "And your father signed the kill order." Before I can speak, headlights wash our faces. Tactical SUVs skidding into formation. Green tosses the phone back. "My orders were to deliver you to Joint Base Anacostia, alive, but silent. I'm changing the delivery address." He keys his radio unit Alpha. False alarm suspect fled west. Engines roar off in the wrong direction. For the first time tonight, choice feels possible. Marcus snaps the comm leg closed, throws it in the truck bed. Helen's voice hisses through our earpieces. Valkyrie wipe complete ledger surviving only on mirrored nodes. "You're officially running on borrowed narrative." We tear south along the coastal highway. Green riding shotgun. Mapping blind spots in NCIS patrol grids. He explains the new rules. Atlas Corp just activated Valkyrie 2, a deep learning public relations demon already rewriting wikis. Flooding social with doctored headlines that paint me as a traitor, selling drone codes to foreign bidders. By dawn, half the country will think I detonated my own unit for profit. The only antidote is raw proof, plus a microphone no one can shut off. There's one stage big enough the Armed Services Committee hearing in 41 hours, where Huxley will champion fresh funding. If we hijack that broadcast and feed the sidechain ledger live, the disinformation loop breaks before it roots. I steal a glance at Green. Aligning with Knox's foster son feels cosmic, but trust is now a tactical necessity. At 0413, we slide into a forgotten lighthouse on Cape Henry, decommissioned, but wired with surplus fiber green requisitioned for maritime research. Inside the brick chamber, flood lamps flick blue over peeling walls. Avery is already there. Laptops fanned like tarot cards. Her channel spiked to 2 million viewers during the way station upload. But Atlas bots are carpet striking her server farm. She wants a bigger splash, a simultaneous multi-platform push that outruns any takedown algorithm. Helen patches through, projecting Valkyrie's partial personality matrix, an eerie lattice of English phrases and cold logic. She's found a biometric override buried in the code, matriarch key Grace, a signature created from my mother's medical bracelet. Natalie might still have it. The irony claws my chest. The same woman whose memory Dad claimed to protect now holds the knife that can cut his lies open. I ping Natalie over secure VoIP. She answers from a DC hotel room. It's dawn. She's in scrubs, eyes swollen. I skip pleasantries, drop the Knox clip and the HX01 ledger on her screen. The color drains from her face. She admits Dad cornered her years ago, sign a Class B psych evaluation on me, in exchange for a fast-track Johns Hopkins fellowship under a Carter family endowment. She signed, believing I'd get treatment, not oblivion. Her voice cracks. I thought I was helping you. Aaron, I want to rage, but grief beats rage to the surface. Instead, I ask about Mom's bracelet. Natalie retrieves a velvet box, lifts out a dull silver band engraved Semper Naviga. She places it on a scanner. The matriarch key pulses green on our monitors. Green exhales. Avery fist pumps. We now possess the cipher that can force Valkyrie to testify against its own handlers. Natalie whispers, "Tell me how to make this right," I reply. "Be at the hearing tomorrow. When they parade you as proof I'm unstable, you'll do the testifying." Natalie nods, tears falling silent. Connection ends on shared resolve. Marcus rolls out a city map. Marking ingress points Service Tunnel E4 beneath the Rayburn building feeds directly to the media trunk. Green still holds Level 2 NCIS credentials, enough to walk us through if alarms stay blind. Helen scripts an exploit that will hijack Valkyrie 2's public node the moment the matriarch key touches the network, effectively making the AI recite its undeleted audit trail live. Avery preps a teaser for her followers. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. EST, the truth uploads itself. My heart hammers to the rhythm of the storm outside. For a fleeting second, the mission feels achievable. Until an alert flashes on Green's laptop, Predator B drone weapons system armed flight path, Cape Henry. Someone accelerated the kill chain beyond lawsuits. We sprint to the lighthouse window. Horizon glows with the angry eye of a reaper's exhaust. I shout coordinates to Helen, who scrambles ECM protocols. Marcus limps up the spiral stairs, prosthetic hissing, drags an old signal flare cannon from the museum display. Muttering, "Let's blind a bird." Wind howls through cracked panes as the drone locks onto thermal signatures. Avery counts down bit rates. Green primes a stinger tube he borrowed from evidence lockup. Eyes steel. The drone's searchlight slices the surf, painting the lighthouse wall in ghostly white. I watch its wingtip pivot. Imagine the hellfire leaving its rail. And for one suspended breath, Cape Henry becomes the fulcrum on which truth and oblivion balance. The flare erupts, Marcus screaming fire in the sky, blinding optics. Green's stinger whooshes, Tracer screaming upward. Impact blossoms orange. Debris rains into the Atlantic. Sonar pings fading. Alarms fade. But the lighthouse roof now burns. Avery chokes on smoke while backing up drives. I shove equipment into waterproof crates. Every second, the blaze eats our staging ground. Helen yells through comms. Atlas uplink detected the missile public statement in 90 minutes blaming domestic terrorism. They'll spin the drone crash as proof I'm dangerous. I look at the flames, then at the Capitol dome, glimmering faint on the northern horizon. We move now, I say. Green nods. Marcus slaps a fresh battery into his cyber leg. Avery shoulders the camera like a rifle. As dawn claws over the waves, we race toward Washington, carrying a dead mother's bracelet, a living AI confession, and just 18 hours left to detonate the truth in front of the world, if the next checkpoint doesn't detonate us first. The highway into D.C. shimmers beneath noon heat haze. Sirens flicking past in the opposite lane. Every cruiser a reminder the narrative is labeling me a terrorist faster than traffic can move. Green rides shotgun scanning police bands. Atlas has leveraged the drone crash to push a citywide bolo on a rogue female officer and 3 unidentified accomplices. Marcus dozes behind us, prosthetic humming faintly as its battery trickle charges from the truck's outlet. Avery edits B-roll one-handed, the other gripping a cold pack on her smoke-scorched cheek. And I rehearse the testimony Natalie and I scripted at 4 a.m. while the roof burned. Capitol Police checkpoints bloom ahead. Green murmurs, switch plates, and we duck onto South Capitol Street, sliding into the back of a plumbing company's convoy where he swaps magnetic tags, then merges under the stadium ramp and into the government vehicle lane. He hands over his NCIS badge at Gate 4. The guard hesitates, database flag flashes red when Natalie steps from the curb in a lab coat, flashing her military medical ID, voice cracking with feigned urgency biohazard protocol demo for armed services. We're already late. The guard's uncertainty collides with his fear of breaking a bio rule. Gate lifts. Our tires roll over the threshold where every camera feed is piped to Valkyrie 2's facial engine. And I feel the AI's invisible gaze crawl my skin. We park beneath the Rayburn loading dock. Concrete sweats humidity. Fluorescent buzz masking our heartbeats. Helen, remote in her lab, routes the bracelet key through a hardware token strapped to my wrist. It pulses like a second pulse. Green hands out comm beads. Tunnel E4 cam loops begin now 12-minute window. Marcus shoulders a duffel stuffed with uplink gear. Avery slings her live camera. Lens capped, but streaming dark frames to 2 million waiting phones. We enter a steel service door, descending into chilled air that smells of copper and bureaucracy. At corridor Delta 9, a maintenance robot sits idle. Green plugs a drive into its diagnostic port. In a blink, its red status light flips green, and it starts trundling ahead, broadcasting a cloned thermal signature of 4 humans in the wrong direction. Decoy for motion sensors. We push onward, timed footsteps echoing. Natalie whispers she hears her own heartbeat louder than Boots. I think of Mom's bracelet under her glove and wonder if family can be patched like code. Halfway to the media trunk, a security shutter slams behind us. Atlas' predictive subroutine must have caught the thermal ruse. Green overrides 1, 2 panels, but the third locks amber. Sprinklers hiss, releasing inert gas to force evacuation. Avery switches camera to night mode. Neon green silhouettes trembling. Marcus jams a pry bar. Muscles straining. Green reroutes power. Sparks shower. Door groans open just enough. We squeeze through as klaxons wail. Ahead, another door looms keycard tier 3. My father's voice suddenly blasts from ceiling speakers. Aaron, turn around. You can still walk out alive. The PA hijack is pure theater. Meant to stall. Natalie stiffens. Tears in her throat. I step to the reader. Press Mom's bracelet. LED turns white. Lock disengages with a sigh. The house key of a woman gone 7 years unbolts the gate, meant to cage her daughter. We slip into the broadcast bay. Rows of servers blinking arterial red. Helen's exploit deploys. Valkyrie 2's node list scrolls, one by one flipping from active to witness mode. She whispers in our ears. 15 seconds to personality reveal. Avery cues her live stream. Her chat explodes through still dark. Audience hearing only alarms and our breathing. Suddenly, the overhead lights pop to life. Admiral Carter enters flanked by 2 armed naval security. Face ashen, but eyes volcanic. You think you'll martyr yourself, I'll bury your friends first. He growls. Green steps forward. Weapon low. Voice calm, sir. Stand down, evidence is live. Any bullet becomes admission of guilt. Admiral's gaze flickers to the bracelet on my wrist. For a fraction of a second, sorrow cracks his fury. Then he orders the guards to confiscate drives. Natalie steps between, shaking but firm. You will not touch classified medical devices without a warrant. Citing bioprotocol code, hesitation buys Helen time. Valkyrie's vocalizer boots through the room. PA. Synthetic yet resolute audit trail commencing. Primary violator user Richard Carter Sr. Secondary sponsor William Huxley. The guards freeze, hearing an AI read the charges in monotone perfection. Admiral lunges for the console, but Marcus blocks him. Prosthetic clanging concrete, returning salute with a fist. Valkyrie continues, projecting holographic mission footage, including the patrol boat clip, onto server racks. Admiral's face blanches under his own ghost. Avery rips the lens cap. Stream floods with images no takedown bot can erase fast enough. Yet a systems window flashes Crimson Atlas remote kill, 90%. Helen screams. They're fratriciding the power bus 5 seconds till blackout green dives. Shunts breaker knives. Sparks cascade. Room plunges into red emergency light, but local battery holds. Valkyrie's audit hits 83%. 84%. Admiral, staggering, reaches into his coat, reveals a sidearm. Natalie screams as he aims at me. Finger white on trigger. I meet his eyes. All the years of mentorship. Accolades. Sunday dinners collapse into a void. My breath slows. Marcus shifts, but too far. I exhale one sentence Mom would never have worn a gun. The words carve something in him. Muzzle trembles. Lowers an inch when Atlas Killline hits 100% and every screen goes black. Silence roars in our ears. Outside boots thud, Capitol Police coming. Proof teeters on extinction. Pistol still halfway up. The blackout swallows every screen. But Avery's rig keeps broadcasting, its lithium pack still humming. Cellular uplink free of Atlas's grid, while Admiral Carter's pistol hovers in the blood-red glow. Indecision twitching along his knuckles. Outside. Capitol Police keys rattle the last security door. Green lifts both hands. Tone ice steady, sir. Put it down. Your own AI already confessed, we're just waiting for people to hit refresh. The Admiral's jaw works as though he might bite through regret itself. Then Natalie steps closer. Tears reflecting pulsing alarms. Voice raw, Dad. End this before the world watches you pull the trigger on your daughter twice. For the span of a heartbeat, the barrel drops. Marcus lunges, locking steel fingers on the slide, wrenching the weapon free. But the sudden motion jolts a loose fiber bundle, sparks kiss a fuel-fragrant rag near the breaker box, and a lick of flame races upward. The server bay is about to turn crematorium. Green shouts evac directions, yet my gaze glues to the dead monitors, proof snuffed out. Unless... I yank the bracelet, slap it against Avery's camera body. Helen, still on comms, reroutes the matriarch key through her lab. Fuses it with the live stream's metadata. Atlas's kill switch can't censor a feed it thinks is a private phone call. A spinning circle flickers, then Valkyrie's voice resurfaces. Tinny through Avery's shotgun mic. Finishing the last 17% of the audit in front of 2.8 million viewers, now spamming emojis. The moment evidence hits complete. Sprinklers burst, drowning sparks and drenching us in oily water. As Capitol Police finally breach, rifles high, jaws dropping at the hologram of the Admiral's crimes still floating in steam. Cut-beat cuffs click around Carter's wrists, but his eyes burn toward Huxley upstairs, telegraphing that some legacies will drag company on their way down. Hours later, the Senate hearing chamber is chaos. Reporters holler. Photographers flash. Huxley tries to gavel order, yet each bang only amplifies the echo of Valkyrie's testimony replaying on every phone. Natalie sits beside me at the witness table, clutching Mom's bracelet like rosary beads, while Green stands guard behind, his NCIS badge gleaming with newly granted whistleblower immunity. Committee Chairwoman Morales, voice sharp as a ritual blade, recites emergency statutes under Title 10 and the new Military Whistleblower Protection Act. We are opening a full criminal inquiry into Operation Orion and associated cover-ups. Admiral Carter, hair plastered, uniform wilted, is led in under armed escort. Senator Huxley blusters that Atlas acted in good faith, but Avery's livestream replays Knox's murder clip on an overhead screen, and the room gasps, a sound part grief, part national shame. Morales turns to Huxley. Did you authorize payments flagged HX01 bill to suppress casualties? He stammers, sweat blooming. Behind him, a junior aide, Grace Porter, slides a thumb drive across to the sergeant-at-arms, sealing her own loyalty to truth. Paragraph close, Huxley's microphone cuts as the chairwoman summons a vote to suspend him pending indictment, and the feed goes worldwide before any PR firm can draft a denial. The immediate aftermath moves like spilled mercury. Atlas's stock freezes on Wall Street. Valkyrie 2 is ordered offline pending federal seizure. Veterans Affairs phone lines clog with callers demanding their erased files be audited. Social media crowns a new tag, #unerased. Stories pouring out paratroopers denied benefits. Intel analysts gaslit into silence, each one a shard that glints off the bonfire we just lit. Marcus is rushed to Walter Reed, where a prosthetic startup pledges a next-gen cyber leg at no charge. Avery's subscriber count triples overnight. She pledges ad revenue to a legal aid fund for whistleblowers. Helen testifies via secure link, her grin fierce when Atlas lawyers try to question her credentials. As for me, the Navy contacts my lawyer with 3 options: honorable reinstatement, medical retirement with full back pay, or public service appointment on the new AI Ethics Commission. End beat. I ask for 24 hours not to decide my reward, but to remember what it feels like to breathe without watching over my shoulder. 2 months later, winter sun flares off the marble of the Naval Academy parade ground. Cadets snap to attention as I step to the podium in civilian midnight blue, compass pin glinting. Marcus standing steady on his titanium leg, Avery streaming a steadier world to millions. Green in the wings wearing Knox's dog tags tucked beneath his shirt. Ghosts don't haunt halls, I tell the new class. They haunt hard drives. But every ghost is just a story waiting for a listener brave enough to press play. I recount the night Mom read us sea legends. How she said a compass's job isn't to fight storms, but to refuse the lie that north keeps moving. Applause breaks like surf. Yet I see Natalie beyond the crowd, holding a framed certificate voiding my psych mark. Tears bright in cold air, repairing bloodlines with ink the same way they were once destroyed. Evening drapes the grove as I sit before Elias Knox's plaque, fingertip tracing his name while violet shadows pool between cedars. I speak out loud, though the wind is the only witness. We didn't win because we were right. We won because we kept receipts. Phone buzzes, notification. Breaking grand jury indicts Atlas executives and Senator Huxley on 17 counts. I let the screen dim. Heartbeat steady, horizon crackling with early spring lightning. For the first time, the silence feels earned, not forced. In my pocket, the compass pin warms against skin, steel warmed by blood, sweat, and one unbroken line of north. Tomorrow I'll draft policy that tethers AI to conscience. Next month I'll testify for vets who never learned to shout. But tonight I close my eyes and finally sheath the blade I've lived on for 6 years.